All right, now that we've gone over the appropriate way to literally just sit, which sounds so crazy, but hopefully you saw the importance of that, because we want to train appropriate motor patterning and functionality of the body before I start adding heavier weight and load to your body. Because you need to understand, everything that you do in a training sense, when I increase stimulus, meaning more weights on the bar, higher velocities, those types of things, whatever patterns that you have are only going to get magnified. So if you have inappropriate motor patterns from the start, you're only going to keep getting worse at that and eventually lead to injuries, or at the very least, you're going to see your progression stop and you're going to plateau. So I want you, again, to be back to that little kid, feeling great, feeling balanced, because then you'll get excited. You'll see your gains go exponentially when it comes to increasing your performance, increasing your abilities, increasing what you're doing in the weight room and in your training environment. All right, why is that so important that we started with the sitting correctly and getting that correct motor pattern of hamstring activation? Well, let me tell you, because the number one problem when it comes to squat form is that when my quads are the primary workers, what are they going to do? The quad is going to do a leg extension. When I'm squatting though, guess what's happening? My knee is bending, which means if my quad keeps turning on, it's playing tug of war at the joint, which is going to lead to knee issues, hip issues, back issues, and the inability to actually squat correctly. So let's look at that in a little bit more depth. So as I'm talking about the correct functioning of these muscles in the squat form, I'm going to just do a normal air squat, and you can see my knees have to bend. That's just going to happen, right? It's a 3-joint exercise, and that's one of the reasons why in squatting we're going to do a lot of squat variations, because we just get to use so many muscles. If I'm just doing bicep curls all day, can my biceps look a little bit better? Sure. Am I going to burn a ton of calories and increase the metabolism that we're talking about? Not as much. But if I can use an exercise like a squat that works practically every muscle of my body, that's going to be a big bang for your buck, which is also going to be more efficient for your time, your aesthetics, everything that we're going to look for. And again, you're going to get a lot more health and performance out of your body doing practical everyday movements like squatting. But coming back to the mechanics, again, if I'm squatting down, my knee is bending, right? My hamstring has to work to, again, do this leg curl. If my hamstring can't turn on, then my quad wants to take over, which is doing what? It's doing a leg extension. So imagine if I squat down to a point and my quads turn on. So I'm going to do a leg extension at this point, and I want you to see what happens. See how it shoots my hips back? So if I'm doing a leg extension, my hips are being shot back, and intuitively my brain goes, I don't feel like falling on my butt today. So to not fall backwards, what is the next domino that's going to happen? Notice my hip is going to start to flex this way and bring my chest down, because I can do a leg extension, but to not fall on my butt, I now have to be forward. So if you're a person that struggles with full squats, and what I mean by full squats is the ability, like a little kid. You ever watch a little toddler squat, right? They're going to waddle up to a toy. They're going to, oh, toy, and they squat like this, and they just sit here, right? I'm sitting down, full range of motion, butt down, my chest is up, right? I didn't fall backwards, and I don't have to be like this. You watch like old people in the garden, right? When they squat down to garden, right? They don't squat like this. They, and then they get up, like this. Okay, I do not want you to be one of those people when you're 60 years old in the garden, you know, grabbing your back. So as I squat, I have to have good ankle mobility so that my knees can go forward. I have to be able to bend my knee by pulling down from the hamstring so that my quads do not do this. And you can see the balance. I'm either going to go hips down by pulling, or I'm going to go hips back by pushing, which means now my chest comes down. So if I'm squatting, this is as far as you'll get, because anything beyond that is just going to go straight into your back. And therefore, we see too many people at the gym doing this, quarter squats. And you can do a lot of weight that way, because guess what? It's all in the quad. They go down to here, and then at this point, that's when the quads really want to turn on, so they can either do this or they can come back up. If you want to squat correctly, we have to get into your glutes and hamstrings, just like the sitting exercise, so I can actually pull down, drive, 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 drive. All right. That is the importance of why I need the sitting correctly to build that. Next, I'm going to talk about a lot of different squat variations because there is not just one right way to squat. There are variations because if you think about it, it's just a tool in your toolbox. If you were to come to me, I would say again, 90% of the population, because of improper training, lack of hamstring development, lack of motor function, sitting in chairs all day, traveling, all of these things, you don't have a good set of working glutes and hamstrings, but because of necessity, you do have some quads, and so that's the pattern. So if I put you in a squat pattern that is going to predominantly put you more into a quad position, your quads are going to keep getting more and more use, meaning both stronger and the motor pattern, but that's not what we need. So for most of you, I'm going to start you with a different squat technique so that you can work on developing your glutes and hamstrings to a higher level until that's brought back into balance. Once that's back into balance, now we get to go and utilize all the different squat techniques. So therefore, if you want to increase your vertical jump, there's going to be more of a quad dominant pattern because jumping is more about knee extension. However, if you say, hey Chris, I want to be faster and I want to learn how to sprint, well, guess what? Sprinting is more about hip extension, which is going to be more hamstring and glute. So again, it doesn't matter what is right or wrong in terms of is sprinting better than jumping. No, they're just different. So let's prepare for it all. But to do that, I need to make you a balanced human being first. So stick with me on this next section. Let's start talking about different squat variations.